Joining this session today. I'm Rachna Prasad. I head marketing for Vinculum. We are an omni-channel SaaS platform, and we provide back-end solutions for brands to scale their business and give their customers a unified experience. When I joined Vinculum in 2019, the first conference that I attended was at IRCE in Chicago. And in one of the closed room discussions, there was a visual that was put up which led to a gasp from the audience. It showed a picture of a mall which had weeds growing out of the escalator. The cue to that picture was essentially a discussion around if brands do not go omni-channel in the years to come, the malls are dead. It's interesting that, 2 to 3 years later, I'm moderating a session where we are not just talking about omni-channel and brands going omni-channel. What we are essentially talking about is smart tech shopping centers for a connected consumer. So it's not just about online merging with offline. It's about the customer demanding an experience which essentially is a convergence across multiple channels. What better way to have a moderation like this where I have an expert group of panel which is comprising of mall owners, front-end platforms, as well as deep tech technology enablers. So let's dive into the session and get some answers in terms of what tech innovations are required in order to get the consumer connected and give experience to malls, give experience to customers, which is exactly what the consumers are now demanding. Before we start, just a few hygiene things. We will be opening the floor for questions in the last 10 minutes. We have around 40 minutes. So we'll quickly dive into the questions. In case you have any questions at the end of the session, please feel free to ask, and we will serve them on a first-come, first-served basis. So the first question is essentially open to all. And first of all, thank you so much for being on the panel today. And I would like anybody to pick up any of this question, and give your view in terms of how you see the future of malls panning out. Some of you are already mall owners. Some of you are enabling technology for these malls. How do you see the malls panning out in the years to come? So, whoever would like to take that. Thanks, Manish.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Rachna. Thank you, everyone. So, see, we exist in an environment where our consumer is dominantly millennials or Gen Z consumers. So that's dominance of our consumers. Now, this is a consumer which has been born, brought up digitally, but they cherish experiences. So I think the biggest agenda and the biggest expectation of the consumer is how to make their shopping experience easy, convenient, simple, safe, at the same time, deliver great experiences. And I think that sets the tone and the agenda for the way forward for shopping malls.
Just to add what Manish just said here, I think specifically looking at it from a post-pandemic scenario, consumers today are really looking at, walking into an environment which is more, let's say, hygienic or safe for them to really go into. So as mall developers, the endeavor primarily is to try and keep it as safe and give them that comfort that you're walking into a safe environment. So right from the entry point, which could be your parking, to shopping inside and giving them that atmosphere. So that's really, and malls today are doing all that primarily. And I think, that's what one needs to just ensure. So.
Just to add to, as rightly said, the word here, which I can think of, is seamless. We've been in this world of digital for too long. And suddenly when someone comes into the mall, you have seen the mad rush which is happening in the malls right now, right? How do you make it rightly said safe? But also, how much of digital aspects can you bring into that? That means they should not feel like coming to a different world. They still, as you said, millennials and Gen Zs and every one of them, they should still have that opportunity of being in the mall, but also still digitally connected. That's something which I think is the bridge or the gap which we are looking at filling up, being more seamless for them to transit from one world to the other, the virtual world to the actual physical world.
Joern, you want to say something on this? Would you like to?
Yes,
Okay,
I'll
great.
just take it up. So adding to what the esteemed panelist just said, right? I think the world is moving very rapidly now in terms of the technology, also in terms of the consumer expectations as well. So the customers are now feeling that, okay, there should be personalized recommendations to them, personalized experience to them, right? The mall should know exactly what do they want in these kind of things, right? At the same time, now the metaverse is also coming up, right? So Times Square in Hong Kong has just opened the replica of their mall on metaverse, right? Just a couple of weeks ago. So we'll have to see that how even that goes. So they want to, the consumers, of course, they, what we think when we do a lot of surveys with other malls worldwide, right? They need to continually do the surveys with the customers and understand their expectations and cater to those. Nike, for example, just opened Nike Land now. And they could sell NFT within 7 minutes for $3.1 million. So this is the craze which is happening, right? So every time you have to just make sure that you are adapting to those technologies, what consumers really want.
Thanks a lot. Anyone else would like to comment on this? So I think just as a follow-up to the earlier question, which is, I heard words like, it has to be touchless, it has to be safe, it has to be convenient. Those are the kind of words that I used, right? I just want to understand when I'm saying that there is a, the customer is demanding I would say, a seamless experience which is completely connected. From a mall standpoint, what are the few things that you are trying to do to address that consumer demand? Because it's no longer about this is what I'm providing, please come and experience it. It's about what the customers are demanding, and hence how is it that we can enable that. So if you can just give some cues with respect to what are you doing as mall owners, and this is specifically to Anil and Atul as well as Manish. If you can give us some idea about how you're creating a connected ecosystem for your customers to give them that experience, that will be great.
So something that what we are doing and we have done is that we've got Weber sitting here from Drop the Queue. And that's something that we are now using in our food courts, wherein the customer, the consumer has the option of sitting on his table instead of walking up to a counter and deciding what he wants to eat. He gets to see the entire menu on his table, make his choice of food, pay for it, and then get the food delivered to him at the table. He doesn't have to go to the counter. So that's something that we've done in our food courts. Apart from that, like I said, right from the entry point to the exit point, try and make it as safe. So touchless, we've also experimenting with Park Plus. So there is a lot that you can do there in terms of collection of data. We've got Joern sitting here. They talk of not that we've really implemented it in our centers at least, but they talk of license plate recognition. So that could help you to kind of, the amount of data that you can get from there and the use of that data that you can make in terms of where the customer is coming from, how many times has he entered your center, how long has he stayed in the center. It's very key information that you can make good use of, So, yeah.
So just to add to what Atul said, see, the consumers today expect 2-3 things. One, they expect a great shopping experience. They want to feel good about being in a mall. Very simple word. Sanjeev said in the morning, retail is a simple word. It is actually a simple word. So, consumers want a nice, happy experience in the malls, very simply said. The other thing, they expect malls to be relevant. Okay, we deal with multiple retailers, retail experiences. I think the retailers put in a lot of effort in creating experiences within the stores, be it a great trial room or demonstrative selling. And there's a lot of work which is being done by the entire retail world today in making the experience, consumer experience memorable per se. It's not only limited to sales. So that's one experience is another side of it. The third is the back-ending of the mall. So the mall experience also is delivered by how easy the parking is. The first entry point is parking. That's one. How seamless, easy, convenient it is. Gone are the days of dingy parkings. No one wants to park. People expect parking to be as nice and as bright as the floor is. So that's one basic, simple thing that people experience. Want. Then they want to walk into safer environments. So, for example, I mean, we've just been accredited with LEED Zero Water, which is about how efficiently we balance zero balance water, how efficiently we use our the water consumption. So I think how efficiently and nicely the STPs are operated. Consumers expect that. We are in the world of sustainability. The younger generation, they value brands that bring about social causes. So I think it's no more about only trading. We do trade. I mean, that's bread and butter. That's day in, day out. That's very transactional. But to connect with consumers, it's important that we really stand out as brands, as places which create memories, deliver good experiences, safe shopping environment, and keep on educating consumers and just delivering to their expectations. So I think and it's all, I think, very exciting to bring in new technologies and new methods to deliver all these experiences. Today's digital world, and with a lot of digital partners and organizations, they're making life easy for us. So I think hats off to them who keep on researching new technologies, trying to find solutions to the entire consumer journey in a mall. So that, this whole partnership of digital providers, retailers, mall operators, and the back end. There's a whole force that works in every back end running a mall. So I think these are 4 important pillars that really help the malls to deliver what the consumers want.
And sorry, just to add to that, I think it's also critical from a mall perspective to keep getting that consumer coming back to you again and again. You need to have that relevance for him. I mean, and that's really, when I talk of relevance, I mean more from a perspective of the tenant mix. So what we've seen is that certain categories who performed extremely well during pandemic and post-pandemic continue to do so, which is, for instance, athleisure. I mean, that is one of the categories that was performing extremely well during pandemic. So, I think having that right tenant mix in terms of the brands in the right sizes is critical to any center. And you need to ensure that you have that in place. And obviously one keeps talking a lot about omni-channel in forums like this and otherwise. I think what we intend to do also is to try and allocate certain amount of space within the center for, let's say, as for these online brands to open their pop-up stores and come and try out and see if the responses are good, then you could kind of look at giving them spaces going forward, So, yeah.
Just sum it up from my perspective, one, personalization for sure. People want to get known, as rightly said. If Anil walks into a mall, into a LuLu mall, he should be known as, yes, Anil is coming, his brands are so-and-so, and this is offers running for them, this can be good for him, and so on and so forth. The second part, that's personalization. The second part is being relevant. That's hugely, I'll say, a massive shift in what you see in today's generations, right? And the last but not the least is purpose. What are you standing for? What purpose are you resolving in this way? There was a gentleman speaking some time back about how purposeful you should be in today's world. That makes a lot of connect with the newer generations, the X, Y, Z, whatever you call them, right? All of them. While you're doing this, you also need to make sure that how much are you giving back to the community. We talk about giving back to the community a lot. For us, we make space for the local artisans to be there, purposefully be there, sell what they can do, and we have minimal engagement with them. So it is direct to the customer approach for them. So we are creating a platform for them in the mall so that they can bring out their talents out and also suffice their needs in terms of economical status and so on.
So you spoke about the fact that there is technology is meeting the business, and then there is a lot of work that's also happening at the back end to bring that seamless journey together. So clearly, enhancement of technology and the collection of data plays an extremely critical role, right? And this brings me to the next question, which I would essentially ask WovTech and Azan, and also you, Joern, which is, how are you anchoring all your data activity in such a manner that there is a complete unified data layer in order to provide a connected customer experience? So do you have some examples with respect to your solutions that you can tell us about? So maybe you can start.
So,
Arvind.
as I said, see, malls generate humongous amount of data, right? Both from the retailer side and again from the customer side. Now, I'll just take few examples. We did survey with a Canadian mall operator, right? And they found out that 64% of their customers are not able to even go to the stores, what they're looking for. They're finding it hard, right? Just one thing, right? Now, if you know that which are their personalized stores, that is another example. So one is the Wayfinder, right? You tell them where exactly are the offers going on. You guide them how to go there, right? Unlike India, means that Galla positioning system doesn't work, right? There are not so many people to guide at concierge desk or something to go there, right? Because they are always on the self-service mode. Second thing, for example, in the app itself, if the customer has marked that these are my favorite stores, you can personalize and send them the offers on their anniversary or the birthday, right? Specifically for those stores, or only those stores when they have the offers, you can send the message to them. Second one, right? The third one, if a customer who was a very high value customer who was spending at your mall but is not coming for last 3 months, he has not earned any loyalty points, you send them the messages, right? So these are all the things I think which make sure that your footfall is again coming back and there is a customer engagement which is required. This is more on the customer side, right? Second, you come on the brand side and the tenant side, right? So you again generate a lot of data on the sales and everything, right? So we collect a lot of data around this, right? We have the BI tools also, which has more than 60 plus KPIs, right? Where you can analyze how's the same store sales growth is going on, for example, right? If it goes down, you can work with the brands to make sure that why is it happening. So from a leasing perspective, whether you want to take the decision either to look for another brand or is there a genuine issue, right, where you can encourage the footfall to that store? Can you do something around that? So I think, of course, the data plays a very, very critical role. And so we have set up our own big data practice, right, where we are trying to analyze a lot of these kind of data, which is coming from our inspection and audit platform and also from the experience management, also from our ADSR tool, right? And we are trying to see and map there that how exactly are the areas where the mall should do the improvement.
So Vaibhav, would you like to throw some light with respect to the use of data and your solutions and how it's helping a connected customer?
Yeah, thanks, Rachna. So if you talk about data in India, so I would just put my different perspective on it. So India is at a very native stage when we talk about data collection, data protection, and regulations. Data is very important when we talk it with the respect of the retailers or the mall, or for that matter, any stakeholder who's trying to pull that customer back. But there is another thing which is being talked about globally is ethical use of data. So I was talking to Joern, he said that in his country, in the Sweden or in other parts of the world, or for that matter in UK, you're not supposed to keep the customer data for more than 24 hours in your system. However, in India, we don't talk about that. In India, we collect data to reuse and to pull the customer back, and probably giving the customer the instant gratification. So there's a big debate which is going on ethical use of data, data collection, data protection, and the data regulation. So we as a company, as a startup, which has also an international tie-up from the UK, so we are very cautious about the data which we collect and we protect, and for how long we keep, and how we use it. So that's my take on the data.
Hi, everyone. So I represent a company called Deep North, and we've developed a computer vision platform that taps into existing CCTV footage. And then we provide using skeletal-based tracking, so talking about ethical data in a totally GDPR-compliant manner. How do you analyze what customers are doing by not looking at their face and providing that data to empower stakeholders for shopping centers? So let's take 2 examples. Number one, the marketing department. So let's say you have a sponsorship or a pop-up within a mall. You're trying to understand what is the budget and value that you need to put towards that. You understand exactly what kind of footfall that sponsorship is attracting, and then you look on a cohort basis, okay, 20 to 25-year-old males are being attracted to this sponsorship, and what is their journey after that? Which tenants are they spending their time in? How is that increasing their overall time within the shopping mall? That allows your marketing department to get a much clearer value on what their budget should be for the next event. The other department is leasing. So most shopping mall owners will have a general sense of what each unit should be, and they divide their leasing strategy by zones, floors, proximity to the entrance, etc. But with the use of very clear video analytics, you're able to understand exactly on a cohort basis what the footfall is on every single floor, zone, which tenants are capturing maximum footfall. And then you can understand, okay, is this anchor tenant actually proving its value? Do I discount its lease rate by 50% because the average customer going out there is going to 4 tenants afterwards? So that allows you to have a much clearer leasing strategy. So that's just a few examples of how we do that on a cohort basis.
Yeah, let me add to the topic of data. See, coming from the parking industry, I have to admit that even within the parking as the first and the last impression of a mall access or entrance, is it better now? Okay. Coming from the parking industry, which is predominantly for malls, the entrance and the leaving experience, so the first and the last one, originally data were not that much of an issue, but nowadays they're really becoming important. You can see that if you are being observed, basically in a rather negative way, or if you proactively provide data like license plates, for example, where you practically agree with your data to combine the parking event, for example, with a loyalty program or with special access or well, whatever you want to grant as benefit for somebody who provides this data, which is practically buying data. Of course, on an agreement level. As you correctly mentioned, data as such is a bit of a critical issue, and there will be always a certain percentage of people who do not want to provide their data on for whatever reason.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. So, I think my question was also around ethical use of data, and thanks, Vaibhav, you already touched upon that. I would like to actually now invite Bharati, and you know, I was having an offline conversation with Bharati before we came up here, and there's some very interesting insights where she was talking about the omni-channel future with respect to retail and how there are some interesting use cases that are emerging, and also the way she sees this whole industry panning out. From Shopify's perspective, what are some of the few things that you're taking up? And you know, looking at building the right, enabling the mall owners, digitizing malls and creating a connected system for customers. If you can just throw a little bit of light on that.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachna. I've just been listening, very fascinated. Couple of thoughts. I always make this joke about how, you know, if in 2008 as a brand you didn't have a website, you were probably behind the curve. And then there was an e-commerce wave in the early 2010s, and if you didn't sort of figure out how to play on the marketplaces, you were probably behind. And before the pandemic, we were talking a lot about omni-channel retail. I feel like that stage is also over. That's part of the mix today. You want to ship from the store, do it. You want to allow someone to come and pick up from the store, do it. But I think what we are seeing now is, you know, we help brands put their stores online. That's not enough anymore, right? You can't, as a brand, sit and push your website to every customer. You actually need to be where your customers are, where they're spending time. Because people spend increasingly a lot more time online than they shop online. And if you are where they are spending their time, they will eventually spend their money too. So a lot of the philosophy that we carry forward now is how do we help our merchants show up where their consumers are spending time? This could be on their WhatsApp. This could be on social, following an influencer. This could be in a mall, looking at a screen when they're not actually in the store. I had earlier on in my career worked in China when I was at Alibaba, and one of the things that happened then was a lot of digitization of malls. And it always amuses me how we always think of that as e-commerce coming to the store. I think it's way more than that, right? The idea really is this consumer sitting at the bus stop and staring at his phone and looking at some influencer wear a beautiful red kurti, and he or she wants to buy it, right? Are you there to help present that opportunity? This consumer could be sitting at the Starbucks in the mall. Are you going to drop the latest Nike screen there for them to scan, engage, and then go to the store and buy? These are little things that are not disruptive in the world of technology, but definitely change how consumers engage and spend their time in the mall. And I feel small things like that go a long way forward in actually delivering more commerce, right? And that's sort of the philosophy we take everywhere now with what we do.
Thank you so much. So I've just been told that we're running out of time, so I may not be able to ask all the questions. But quickly, Joern, if you can just tell me how your technology is helping this touchless, seamless parking experience, just in a few minutes.
Yeah, there's certainly some technology development on the parking industry as well. License plate recognition is one of them because the recognition rate has now reached a level where actually the push button for the ticket is completely obsolete. The entrance terminal is obsolete. The ticket is not needed anymore, and the entire payment process can be either done online via app at a manual pay station or at the exit via FASTag. So that's a complete seemingly flow if commercial parking is a consideration. Not all the malls would like to charge for parking. That depends a little bit on the strategy. But that the technology is available to have that completely touchless and reliable in terms of revenue reports and basically giving the owner a proper view who came when and what, not personalized, but over statistic values.
Thank you so much. I had one last question, which was about metaverse, but I don't think we have enough time. Do we have? We don't. Okay. So are there any questions from the audience? So if there are no questions, then we'll call it a wrap. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining this session. Thank you, panelists. It was extremely insightful listening to you. I wish we were able to do a couple of more questions, but that's about it. Thank you.